As I mentioned in the previous video, if you wanted to add more aggregation functions, you can do that. So for example, in this first one, df summary, we just only aggregated based on sum. But say I wanted the sum and the mean, right? So if the analyst right, it's going to be the same as the code that was used to create df1. We just put it in brackets like this, okay? So we're, df1, where you put your functions in square brackets. Okay, so let's give that a try, shall we? So we want a df summary, and I'm just going to overwrite this other one that we did here with the 78, right? Df summary. And we're going to write this as df, and the variables we're going to use are store, sales dollars, sales quantity. Okay, and we're going to group by, and here we're going to group by store, and we're going to aggregate, okay, and then we put our squiggly brackets in there, and we're going to aggregate sales dollars, and we want to do two. We want to do the sum and the mean, and we also want to do sales quantity, and we want to do the sum and the mean. Okay, that all looks good. So let's see what we get here. So let's run this. It's going to replace this df summary, so I should see more columns here. Let's see what it gives me. Yep, remember, I got to put my little pound, run it as a cell. All right, now I have two more columns. Let's take a look at what they are. And here they are. Now I've got sales dollar sum, sales dollar mean, sales quantity sum, sales quantity mean. Okay, so now, and here my index is based on the store numbers. Okay. All right, so if the analyst wanted more aggregation functions, right? So, another way to look at this, we just did that, right? Another way to execute the code. Right, so this is one way to do it. Told you before, there's lots of different ways to do this. So the way we do that is let's define the groups and then aggregating. What this method does, it allows for a cleaner view of your code. The longer your code line is, if the longer code line's incorrect, you may have several pieces of the line to evaluate versus small snippets of code. Again, this is just the way I like to code. You have lots more stuff to evaluate. So this is just another way of doing it. All right? Again, you're going to get the same result. So let's create a new variable called grouped. And it's df, and we're going to do our group by. And we want to group by store again. So that goes into parentheses and a square bracket and in quotation marks, all right? So now I've created a grouped variable. Now I'm going to create df summary1, and what we're going to say is grouped. Okay, so what it's doing is it's picking up this piece here, right? And it's saying grouped, and what it grouped is, we're going to take sales quantity, oops. I want to make sure I'm going to do it in the same order. Sales dollars and sales quantity. Okay. And remember, because it's picking up DF grouped, right? So it already knows that sales dollars and sales quantity are going to be grouped here. And now we're going to aggregate. And I'm going to throw in a little twist here. The aggregation, the functions, I'm going to use numpy functions. NP sum, NP mean, and NP standard deviation. Okay? Crazy. So, let's run our grouped. This is saying I've got an issue. NP, period, not comma. So it was telling me standard deviation's not identified. So let's run our grouped. Okay, so now I have a new variable called grouped. And now I'm going to run and get df summary1. And df summary1 is now, I've got two additional variables here. I've got standard deviation, right? For both sales dollars and sales quantity. That's why df summary1 is a little more expansive, right? Because I've got the sum, mean, standard deviation, et cetera, et cetera. So why did all of a sudden I bring in numpy? Well, it's fine. You can change this and watch. I'm going to change this. Copy, paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the aggregation, right? I'm going to get rid of the numpy stuff and put it in quotes. Oops. And I'm going to call this df summary 2. Okay? And guess what? You get the exact same thing, right? So you get the exact same thing whether you do the NP sums or sums in the quotation marks. It doesn't matter, right? You get the exact same outcomes. So whether I do it directly or I bring in numpy, it really doesn't matter. But the benefit of using this two-step process allows for changing the variable that you are grouping by. For example, the analyst might be interested in summarizing store and brand simultaneously. In this case, using this, in this case, the analyst adds brand to the variable grouped. and reruns the aggregation. Okay, it's really, really quite simple. So let's try that. So I'm gonna just copy these two lines, right? I'll use the numpy. It doesn't matter which one we use. Okay, I'm gonna copy these two lines, and I'm gonna add in here. I want it grouped by store by brand. Okay, store by brand, and I'm gonna leave everything exactly the same, right? Leave it all the same. So I'm gonna run this. This is now, I'm going to call this grouped. I'm going to call it grouped. And then we're going to make this df3. All right, so I'm going to change my grouping. And now I'm going to run this and get df3. Takes a little longer because I'm trying to get store and then all the brands. All right, let's see. Where's df3? Come on. And again, you can use the sum, mean, standard deviation like you have here. Okay, so df3, it should come up here any second. There it is. 308,599 rows. So now I've got now the indexes are different. I've got two indexes, index 0 and index 1. I've got store 158. So this is brand 58. This is store 1. And I want to know what my sales dollars sum or mean or standard deviation was for store 1 selling brand 58. All right. So a little bit more complex, a lot more data, but another way to aggregate your information.